Welcome everybody. My name is Jeffrey St. Laurent. This is the Tuesday Live Show. I help coaches transition to a full-time business, and I have a lot of great resources to help you with that transition on my website, sellingcoaching.com. You can check out my university. That's where I post all of these live shows, the recordings. I have a lot of great resources there. Use the search bar. And then also right at the homepage at sellingcoaching.com, if you want to start off there, if you enter your name and email, that's not only going to put you in my email community, which allows me to stay in front of you, communicate with you on a weekly basis, share some great information when I'm doing some different programs, etc. But also get you my great resource. That's an audio resource called Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. With that being said, let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic is the raw truth about creating results. And my hope for this is to just kind of paint just a realistic picture. And those of you that work for me and follow me, you know, that's what I do anyways. So it's not like, oh, this is something out of the ordinary. But, I work with a lot of people, a lot of clients, a lot of coaching clients, a lot of people who are in the game, who have high hopes, who really want to make this a go. And some really need to make it a go from an income perspective, right? But everyone's passion based, when it comes as a coach. We're all passionate about what we do as a coach because most likely we've had an experience, we've gone through something. Coaching kind of, some cases it saves us, right? It opens our eyes up. It deepens our level of consciousness, awareness. We have breakthrough moments. We gain clarity that we never could have gained before. It's helped us in a way that maybe nothing even else has to this point in our lives, and it's changed our trajectory in life. And often when that happens to us, whether it be that or exercise or a relationship or a person or a comment, whatever it is, sometimes even tragedy, we're rebirthed, we're reborn, we're renewed. There's a new sense of hope, and we create different results in our lives, and it makes sense that we would want to share that with others. We want to help others do this. And then we get into the space where maybe you go through a coaching school, get a certification, whatever your path to coaching is, we now say we want to do this as a business, And I've always said, the skill set of coaching is very different than the skill set of being in business or the business skill sets that we require. And it's completely different. There's mild crossover, and the mild crossover actually comes in the selling aspect. That's why I'm so passionate about selling and teaching that to coaches, because there's a lot of similarities with coaching and selling. But regardless, we come into this with a very passion-based outlook, and we want to create income with it. And we see all these gurus out there who are marketing. A lot of people are marketing on the money side, right? They're marketing, you can create these magnificent results. And oftentimes it's portrayed in a very easy, quick, large volume. You don't need any other skill sets. You don't need an audience. You don't need to post. You need to do anything. You can just get out there. You can run some Facebook ads and you can start to monetize, And there's some truth to that, right? There's the truth to getting out there is like, well, you get out there, it's only a matter of time before you can monetize. Now, there are some very specific skill sets like selling, amongst one of them, presentation skills. Those would probably be my top 2 that you must begin to, I say master, right? Become better at, right? We want to become better at them, but ultimately over time, I don't think anyone's ever mastered anything. It's like you have levels of mastery. But mastered is kind of like, I've mastered it. And it's past tense. Like, I don't need to do any more work. We always need to get better, right? So there's levels of mastery, but you need to start attaining certain levels of mastery of those skill sets. So while there's some truth to some what marketers say, like, well, yeah, let's get you out there and let's start, creating some income. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But a lot of it's portrayed, like I said, in a very fast, quick, easy way. No experience necessary, no audience necessary, and you can start making money and loads of it at that. And I believe that's true for a very small percentage of the population. And oftentimes you don't know, the marketer or the gurus that are out there, marketing this stuff. First off, they're great at marketing. So, it's very compelling, and they have results because they've created those results themselves. But here's the thing that's interesting about this market and this industry is that, results for me and results for you and results for somebody else, even if we're doing the same thing, very rarely, if often, result in the same type of results. And especially when you're getting specific techniques and strategies, right? And so it doesn't mean that, what I teach or what someone else teaches, et cetera, is only exclusive to me or that person. It just, there are things you have to take into consideration. And sometimes the things that you will never know or you never could know, like how long is this person doing this for? And some people, their stories are like, I went from nothing and no audience to, earning in my first, 90 days, 7 figures. And you're just like, oh, well, what did you do? Like, who wouldn't want to know that, But you don't know what that person did prior to that 90 days, who they were connected to, what skill sets they've attained or acquired or have levels of mastery of, what their network's like, what their net worth is like. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of factors that go into that, so they're coming, from a state where they have a strong network, they have a strong net worth. They've got 5 figures a month to put into Facebook ads, and they've got a strong conversion. They've got a team that they've hired. You know what I mean? Like, well, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful with that. You got to be very smart because you can go, to beyond zero very quickly, especially the more you invest. But there's a lot of factors. So you can scale to 7 figures. Well, yeah, if you're running multiple 5-figure, Facebook ads a month and you've got a strong monetization system and a team, you can scale to 7 figures a lot quicker than you can if you're doing it by yourself, right? Assuming you're successful with that, right? So there's a lot of things we need to understand about that. That's why what I teach and what I do is I stick to fundamentals. I stick to the basics. I stick to, this is the stuff that, I've been doing this full time since 2004, and while that's a long time, it's also a short time, 17 plus years, right? To me, that's a long time, but I also know in the grand scheme of things in my life, I'm 45, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to be at this for a while longer. You know what I mean? It's not like I can just wrap things up and call it a day, nor do I want to. But with that being said, it's like I've got a while longer to go, at least, double what I've already done. So how am I going to stay in business for another 17 years, and beyond if I want to? How am I going to do that? And times are going to change. Times have changed. Evolution, things will evolve. Marketing will evolve. People evolve. Who we market to evolves. I mean, the world changes very, very rapidly. So it's, what's working today might not work tomorrow. But here's what I know. Over the course of the 17 years that I've been in business, and this is the truth, the raw truth, is that the fundamentals of communication and marketing yourself haven't changed. There's a lot of strategies out there, but too many people are trying to do this too quickly. They're trying to move too quickly. They're trying to get results too quickly. And I'm not shying away from, hustling and going after it. You need that. You require that. If you don't have hustle, you're not going to make it in this game. So with that being said, you can have hustle, you can have urgency, but you can't be in a rush. That's the difference, right? There's hustle, there's urgency, there's going after it, but there's a calm, relaxed poise to that. You can see athletes, professional athletes, and they hustle and they go after it, right? But they're not rushing, they're not frantic, they're not scattered, they're not nervous, they don't have a lack of confidence. There's a big difference, and a lot of people are trying to rush this. They're trying to push this beyond where they're capable of. They're trying to play at a professional level when they're not a professional yet. Like you can want to be a professional, but you've got to become a professional. And so many coaches that I see and I work with sometimes where, they're in that position where, and I want it to be this way too, as we come into this space and it's like, I see what's out there and I see what people are doing. And they've been doing it for years or decades, and they're making great income, and they're helping people, and they're confident, and they've got these great materials and websites and so forth and so on. And it's like, I want to be there now. And you can't be there now. You can't be there now. You could spend a bunch of money and get a really awesome website. You can do a bunch of things, but it's like, But now you're putting yourself in a precarious situation because you're not earning any income and you're dropping 5+ grand on a website. People I recommend, 3, 5, 6 grand, and that's a really nice website, but you could be spending quadruple that, then some for some of the stuff that you can do to hire some people to do these things. But the point is, you start spending lots of money right out of the gates when you haven't earned any money yet. And I'm not saying don't be professional, but it's like you got to work your way towards that. Start with something. Start with a landing page. Start with, you can get a nice website for 3 grand. I've got a couple of great recommendations. If you want one, reach out to me through sellingcoaching.com and I'll give you the recommendations, of some great people, fantastic website, but you've got to kind of poise yourself and you can't rush this thing. And now the other thing I want to start to talk about, in terms of, the raw truth is, there's a certain amount of time you've got to be in the game to create consistent results. Anyone can get out there and start this off and get a client or two and get a client or two. And then, time goes by and get another client or two. And sometimes it takes a while to do that. Sometimes it can happen right out of the gates. But to me, this isn't about how much can I earn and how quickly, because when I've been doing this for a while, it doesn't matter how much and great this month has been because next month you start from zero. This year you could have your record-breaking year. Woohoo, fantastic, right? I'm not discarding that. Celebrate it, enjoy it, embrace it. But you're starting next year at zero, right? So whether this year's your biggest, your worst, whatever, it's like whatever. You still got to do the work. The month's over. Great, celebrate if there's cause to celebrate, but don't back off from the work. That's what and these are tried and true, fundamentals for any business, for any situation, in a relationship, with your health, you name it, a career. You can't get lax with this. But this business is different. This business requires connections and network and people, and you've got to have people and know people and get to know people. And for a lot of us, that's challenging, even an extrovert, I'm introverted, I'm extroverted, yeah, there's different challenges there. But as a person myself who's introverted, who's, socially, like I can be with my close friends in small groups, my family, things like that, and be fine with. But in large group social situations, I'm very quiet. I prefer not to be. I don't know what to talk about. I can get on stage and present, but socially, that's just not where I'm at, and so for me to get out to networking meetings, things like that. So for some of you, it's the same, but we've got to do that. Like if you're not getting out and meeting people, shaking hands, looking them in their eyes, getting on the phone with somebody, this virtual communication stuff, like it initiates things. Social media, they can initiate things. They're great initiators. To me, social media is the phone book. It's the yellow pages of today, or of yesterday, whatever the phrase is, right? Like you want to look up a business years ago, you go to the yellow pages, you go to the phone book, and now it's social media. I look at it's the same. It's a directory from a chamber of commerce, right? Because you can go on LinkedIn and you can look at people and you can find out information about them, where they're working, what they do, what the company. You can look at websites, but you just can't rely on that. You can't rely on this virtual space, and a lot of people you create these automated systems with these funnels and the emails, and then if they do this, then they get this email, and if they don't do this, they get this email, and it's like, I'm not saying that stuff can't work. I'm just saying, there's a certain place when you have a certain level of success and a certain volume of people that you've got to have more and more automation, and you have that ability to monetize in different ways. When we're starting off, you've got to learn the fundamentals of conversations and how to take someone through a process and how to close a sale and how to service that person afterwards and how to do your taxes and claim your, like that stuff, income and expenses. You've got to learn how to market yourself. You've got to learn how to create conversations, look for opportunities. Those are some of the fundamentals of this business. And those are the things that take time. There's a big aspect with coaches where a lot of coaches are coming into a coaching business. They're coming into it from, they're still working on themselves, right? So through the coaching process, through whatever they've gone through, whatever it may be certification that they're going through, there's a certain evolution, a personal development evolution that they're going through, still going through. And now they're adding in this business, and it's almost like, I don't want to say, take this for what it is. It's coming to my mind. It's almost like playing a sport with a nagging injury, right? And I don't want that to come across as like, oh, well, I'm working on myself, so it's an injury, or it's a hazard, it's an ailment, that's going to inhibit me from being successful in business, right? I just take the metaphor, if it's a metaphor, for what it is, right? So you're playing the game, you're playing the sport, which is business, with an injury, which is meaning you're still working on yourself. And you're always working on yourself, but some people are really in that phase of still really working through things. And part of the business, doing the business, is their development, right? So it's in unison, right? Sometimes when you have an injury, you've got to just work it out. You've got to start doing movement, right, to start getting blood flow to the area, et cetera, right? So it's not a bad thing, but sometimes you got to recognize that, if you're playing with an injury, so to speak, you could be doing yourself more harm than good, because you're on the field and you want to be competitive. In this metaphor, you're in the business and you want to earn income and you want to go after it. But this ailment, if you will, or these things that you're going through personally are holding you back from playing full out. That just, it's how it is sometimes. And I'm not saying don't play the game. I'm just saying if you're going to play the game, you've got to play it with proper expectations. You got to play it with the proper modifications, right? I'm not saying don't play. I'm just saying, well, there's certain things you might not be able to do right now because of the injury. If you honor that and respect that, you'll actually create better results, and you won't be harming yourself from moving forward with the business, and while getting better with the things that you need to get better personally, right? So hopefully that's making sense as you're listening to this. And I think those are the pieces that you've got to be real with this, and you've got to give this time. You've got to give this years. This isn't a short-term play. People are coming into this and it's just like, oh, I want to earn money and I want to quit my job and I want to do this. And it's like, okay, great. Like, let's go after it. Let's look at this as we go along, and we can start to make some plans. Let's start to have some goals, but we got to start to see how it unfolds as we go along. I'm going to quit my job on, January 1st, 2022. Fantastic. Well, let's start to do the work and let's reevaluate as we get closer. What are your financial needs? How's that going? How is our, what traction are we getting? What income have we earned, if any, from our business yet? Okay, so let's reevaluate that goal. Don't just be blind, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. We've got to reevaluate how we're getting there. So sometimes, I know goal setting, a lot of people, oh, it's fantastic. And you got to have a specific, measurable, action-oriented goal, et cetera. And sometimes I find goals, that are too specific can sometimes hold us back in terms of where we're going. Sometimes they slow us down because the goal isn't big enough, and we're easily achieving the goal, so we just kind of back off, right? Sometimes it's way overboard, and it's so unattainable that it just, and you get demoralized and you slow down or stop, right? So it's just a matter of listen, where are we now? Where do we want to go? What's on our table? Let's do this. Let's get better at it. And let's start to allow this to unfold. And let's not put too much on the results yet. Let's go after the results. Let's assess what the results, if any, are, what's happening to create them, and let's reassess. And so next thing you know, a year or 2, 3 years goes by. My clients that have stuck with me and stuck with the consistency over time, they're earning money, and they're earning some consistent income. This year alone, I have 3 coaches that I'm working with who are going to create their first 6-figure year. It's freaking awesome. They've been at it 2 or 3 years, first year, 25, 30,000, second year, 50, 60,000, third year, close to, if not breaking 6 figures, some of them, which is great. If you knew it took you 3 years to earn a 6-figure income, could you stay in the game long enough? Well, hopefully you'd say yes. That's freaking awesome. Some of you are like, oh, that's too long, but what if it took you 5 years? What if it took you 7 years to earn a 6-figure income, from this big business? If that doesn't work for you, then do something else. If it's going to work for you, then that's attainable. That's attainable for a much larger percent of the population than the marketers who are like, let's do it in your first year, in your first 6 months, in your first 90 days, 5-figure month, 6-figure, whatever, it's just like, yeah, can you do it? Is it possible? Yes, it's been done. What percentage of the population is going to do that? A very small percent of the population. Okay, but who can we go for it in our first, 3 years, 5 years? Okay, what percentage of people have the ability to do that? Well, I can't give you statistics, right? But a lot larger percentage, probably not as much large as you think, because statistically, people who earn a 6-figure income, I think it's like, I have to check if there's actual statistics. I know in the past I've heard it's like 3-4% of the population earns a 6-figure income, something like that. And then, millionaire status is, a fraction of a percent, etc. But the point is, there's still a much larger percentage, and it's much more doable. So you just got to have the right expectations coming into this, and be in this game for the long run, and learn and get better. And you want to become a professional anything. How many years does that take? You want to be a professional athlete, someone who gets paid to play a sport. How many years do you think it takes to do that? Decades, right? And you playing it since birth, and now you're in college, and so now you start, you make the pros or some, other league. How long does it take to become a professional coach, a coach that gets paid? Well, you can start right out of the gates and get paid, but to get paid well and paid consistently, how long do you think that's going to take? It's going to take a while. And what do you have to get better at? So hopefully this is helpful for you. Hopefully this sheds some great light on some real things to consider as we go into this business, and to keep you going forward with it. If you're in a position where you feel like you want some help, you require some help, I believe mentor coaching, what I do and what I've done in the past when I was in the business, full of life coaching, if you will, I hired and I work with mentor coaches. If you feel like I'm that person for you and the timing is right, visit sellingcoaching.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page. I will follow up with you. We'll create a relaxed conversation, and we'll decide where to go from there.